Hey, welcome to Principles on the Come Up. Today we're going to be talking about lesson planning. Now, we know that lesson planning is something that is just, what happened to my pillow? Okay. We know that lesson planning is something that we really don't do enough of as far as principals are concerned. We send our teachers to the administration building, or we have supervisors to come in and they help them to break down the curriculum. They assist with the curriculum guide and they have their pacing charts. And they just kind of depend upon that coach that's in the building or the person who is designated as the coach to help teachers with their lesson plans. Now, the things that I have experienced at schools with lesson plans is that, anything goes with the lesson plans. But what I want to know is how many of you have students that are in remedial classes in your building? Do you have students who are in remedial classes in your building? And that's a question that, we're going to consider. Are teaching the lessons in the classroom, is that what's happening in the majority of the students? They're having to go to remediation, or do they have some kind of intervention? Today we're going to be looking at ways to create lesson plans where students win. And that's just the bottom line. When students win, that's how you develop your lesson plans. So there are three things that you need to have in every lesson plan. And of course, the first thing is that you must have an opening and a closing. You may have included within your lesson plans your format for formative assessment, have time allotments, written and measurable learning outcomes is what's needed when you write your lesson plans. And of course, the third thing is to have frequent checks for understanding. Hi, my name is Dr. Barbara Pogue. I am an educational consultant. And my purpose for meeting with you with these episodes is to address your school as a school that is in need of improvement. It is a school that has majority students who are in need of special services, or in need of special assistance, or the students meet the low-income guidelines. If your students are in need of special assistance, that's what we're looking at. So I had a low-performing school that I was assigned to, and it was the lowest school in the school district and one of the lowest schools in the state of Texas. And I was given that school to turn that school around, along with the faculty that was available at the time. There really, wasn't much, but we were able to get that school turned around. I was also asked by the state of Texas to go into low-performing campuses that were identified in need of service and get those schools turned around. So I've had experience in turning schools around and recognized by the state to be able to do that. So I'm here to be able to help you to get your school, if it's in need of improvement, or if you have a school that has been designated as low performing, a way to pull out. That's my job. That's what I do, and I do it quite well. And I want to be able to share that with you as we have our episodes on Monday to talk about basic things to get your school in a form of improvement. That's all we want. We want our schools to improve. And with all the things that we have had to impact schools this year, we're looking at learning losses, and what we're looking at are some basic principles. I don't care what kind of computer system you have. I don't care what kind of learning management system you have. I don't care whether your instruction is face-to-face. I don't care whether your instruction is online. There's some principles that have to be followed And then you can add to that, but it's just like the principle of what goes up must come down. Now you can have all kind of stuff in between, but if it goes up, it's going to come down. It doesn't matter whether it comes down sideways, upside down, tumbling down, it's going to come down. And the things that we're talking about are basic principles in education. And the basic principle that we're going to be talking about today is just this old common lesson plan. So why lesson plans must contain an opening, a closing, formative assessment is what we're going to be talking about. We'll talk about why plans must be written as measurable student learning outcomes. And especially if you're trying to close the COVID learning loss. And all of us are trying to close the COVID learning loss. We're trying to close that gap. Well, this is for you. And if you know that you have pull-out remediation classes set up just before testing, you know how it goes just before testing. We try to hire as many substitutes or as many retired teachers to come into the building and to help the students who are in need of special assistance, because you have testing come on, and this is the season. This is the season of testing. You're just looking around to see how you can pull kids out, how you can put a bunch of kids over here and another bunch of kids over there, and you start doing your remediation, because these children are behind, and we're going to get these kids caught up because we have testing going on. So if you know teachers that do formative assessments in the classroom, but they're still needing some type of intervention, then this is for you. As the principal of a local farming school, I know all the gadgets that you have to do, all the changes that goes through your mind as a principal of that building. You still have expectations. I don't care whether the test is going to count this year. You still have those expectations, because the majority of those children who are in your building now will be back with you next year. And you have to make sure that they get all they can this year, so that next year, when the tests do count, they will have a foundation. So we did things like pulling kids out. We found people in the community who could teach. We had retired teachers, we had retired engineers who wanted to come back to the community to help, and we identified those children who had those special needs, and we put those students with them. We changed our schedules around. We changed our timing around. We changed our transition when we were having transition. You changed all those things around just in preparation for the test. And then the added thing you have now is that you have those teachers who are doing face-to-face, and you have those teachers who are doing the online. Hey, Sandra Gale. So, as Sandra Gale is saying, a plan. You have all kinds of plans, But there's something that I want to talk to you about today with your lesson plans. And it's a way for you to reduce remediation and a way for you to reduce your intervention. And if teachers will do this, and of course, it's never going to be 100%, but if teachers do this, we will see that our children are not standing still. And when I say standing still, I'm talking about those children who are in remediation. Okay, you put the children in remediation. The meantime, those kids who are not in remediation, they're moving on. So that means that the kids that are in remediation, the kids that are in intervention, they're going to always be behind. So can we come to a point where we're just going to have to address the learning as it is right now? And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the kinds of lesson plans that have your opening, they have your closing, you have your time stamps. But the critical thing that you usually never see on a lesson plan is where the teacher has determined in advance that the kids are going to have problems with this. You know, some of our kids are a year behind. Some of them are 2 years behind. So if you know that you are teaching to a particular standard and those things are going to be missing in your lesson, then plan to address those things in your lesson. For example, you know, as a high school English teacher, senior English, it was always part of the curriculum to have students to write the 10-page essay. You know, we know that. You know? At one time, the seniors were able to go to summer school at the end of the 11th grade year, take that half credit of English 4, and then skip that essay, skip that 10-page essay. Well, you can't do that anymore. But every year during that second semester, during that last half of the year, we had to start getting our seniors ready and prepared to write the 10-page essay. You know, and I said, I can't write a 10-page essay. I cannot write a 10-page essay. Well, you know, I have a favorite saying: how do you eat a 2-ton elephant? One bite at a time. So how do you keep your children out of remediation, and how do you keep them out of any type of special assistance? One bite at a time. So what we did, we decided that we would work on 2 pages at a time. 2 pages at a time. Okay? Could they swallow that? Yes, they could swallow that. And you know, the history had been that it was time for graduation and those seniors had not written a 10-page essay. And I'm talking about good students. You know, we had to have conferences with these students' parents because they weren't getting the essay done, or they only had half of the essay done, and it was just overwhelming. You have all of your end of school activities, they just couldn't do it. But once we decided to do 2 pages at a time, you know, give them all the basics that they needed, and then let's work on 2 pages. Get those 2 pages completed, and then the next 2 pages, the next 2, and the next 2. Okay, that's easy. And then when they had all of their pages together, then we would just teach them how to do the transitions, how to transition from one outline chapter or page to the next, and just to transition and just to transition. And of course, understanding all of the other things that went along with writing the essay. So the same thing is true when you are doing your lesson plans. If principals, if you would have your counselors, and if you would have your instructional coach to assist with the lesson planning with the teachers, to anticipate the kinds of things that are going to be needed in that lesson that you know students don't have the background for. So for example, if you are about to teach a class and there is multiplication that's involved, instead of when you meet in your PLC, you say, well, you know, the kids are not going to get this because they don't understand the multiplication facts. So what you do in the classroom, you have all that stuff. You have all that stuff there. You have all that stuff there. And you know, I didn't say it would be 100%. It may be 70%, maybe 80% that we can keep out of remediation if we would do our lesson planning in anticipation of the kinds of issues that children are going to have. We are never going to be able to close that learning loss as long as we continue to take those kids who are lower than low performing, put them in remediation, and then put them back after they have been in remediation. They've passed, or they have had some improvement on the state tests, and now we're going to pull them on over to the next grade. All right, so everybody else is almost on level, but they're still remediating. They're still remediating. Can we just plan in advance, plan for the kinds of problems that the children are going to have? Plan when you do your standards to understand exactly what that standard is asking. And you know the kinds of issues that your children are going to have. Prepare for those issues. Prepare for it. Have something right there to catch them up. And of course, you're going to have your formative assessments. You know, as you go along, you'll be asking questions. You'll be having them to write down a problem. And as I said on last episode, when we do our aggressive monitoring with the children, the aggressive monitoring simply means that you will give them an opportunity to do the assignment, and you aggressively monitor that assignment and not just walk and look sideways at the paper and not taking the time to see how each one of them is doing the assignment. And when you see that they're having problems with the assignment, then you stop right there. And you can't anticipate it all. You can't anticipate it all. But by golly, unless you're a first year or a second year teacher and principal, you have your instructional coach, or you have your counselor, or whoever you have assisting and doing the plans, planning as a team, planning as a grade level, planning as a content level. Then when you do your plans, have your format set out. But the key is anticipating the kinds of problems that the children are going to have. So when they have them, bam, you're prepared for it. You're prepared for it. Now, again, I say, are you going to have 100% of the children who are going to stay out of remediation? No, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, sir. You will not. Andrea says, consider the obstacles and mishaps before they happen, one bite at a time, step by step. That's it. But you know what's difficult? You know what's difficult, principals? What's difficult is getting the teachers to be able to anticipate. Having lesson plans that are written in a way that can be used as a guide. If those lesson plans are just a bunch of mumbo jumbo thrown together, so that when whoever checks the lesson plan, they follow everything that's required in the format, and they've met that format, and they go on about their business. And then once the lesson is complete, and then when the assessment is done, either your exit ticket at the end of your day's assignment, or if you have a mid-level assessment, or if you have a district-wide assessment, don't wait until then. You can take care of those issues when you plan in advance with your lesson plans. If you are in a small school, if you are in a rural school, we understand the kinds of challenges that you have. Because if you're in a rural school, your rural school is one with all kinds of challenges. You are teaching more than one topic, more than one subject, more than one course. And it's the same kids that you had last year, because usually that's at your rural schools. You have families who have been there and students who have been friends with each other since pre-K, kindergarten, all the way up to 12th grade. So your challenge is that you still have the same issues. You still have the same issues, but your challenge is to be able to plan together. I don't care what the schedule looks like. When you're planning your schedule for next year, get with your counselor, whoever it is that's planning, for those of you that are in smaller communities. Get whoever it is that's planning those schedules and determine how you're going to work together so that you can have the maximum amount of time to plan as a team and to do PLCs. and to come up with ways where you can plan in advance. You may have to modify your lesson plans. You may have to put timestamps on your lesson plan. And I know that's difficult, but you have to have some railings. You have to have a guide. And if you don't have the guide, then you're going to end up with the same old thing. You're going to end up with the same students needing remediation. Just take them on out of the classroom because they're so far behind until they'll never catch up anyway. Well, you know what? If we don't stop and attend to their needs on a daily basis, they will never catch up. And they will live up to your expectations. They will just live up. Hey, Deborah, good to see you. They will just live up to your expectations. And the children that we're talking about are the children who are at the greatest risk of dropping out of school. And those children who are at the greatest risk of dropping out of school are the ones that we need to address right now. We know those students who are ninth graders, if they don't have at least 5 credits by the beginning of the second semester of their ninth grade year, they're dropping out. They're not coming back. But if we can start addressing the needs and thinking about the kinds of obstacles that the children are going to have before the obstacles even appear when you're teaching the lesson, then give it to them then. Don't punish them and say, oh, stop counting on your fingers. Oh, you don't know your multiplication facts. Help them. Help them. Help them come up with a plan. True enough, they're going to have state assessments, and they will not be able to use multiplication charts. But there are some teachers out there, principals, who are clever enough to know how to overcome that as well. We know how to overcome that. The state, with their infinite wisdom, they give you, some latitude where if you use this, you can still deal with that. There are ways for us to be able to teach those children who are our children that need remediation. They're children who are experiencing the learning loss from COVID. There are children who were experiencing long learning loss before COVID even came into existence. And if we continue doing the pull-out remediations, the constant interventions after the fact, then that's what we're going to always have. And what that does to the school, what that does to the school district, what that does to the community, that does not give children of color and our poor children in our rural areas, that does not give them a fighting chance in society. Because we as administrators, we as teachers did not plan in advance. When you get ready to take a trip and you're leaving the South and you're headed to the East and the weather temperature may be a little different, so you're going to dress differently. You always check in advance to make sure that you have the proper kind of clothing. You look at the weather, you see what the weather's going to be. Whether it's going to be cold, whether it's going to be extremely hot, whether it's going to be rainy, whether it's going to be foggy. You do that in advance because you want to prepare. Because you don't want to be out having a good time and all of a sudden it's raining for 2 or 3 days. And if it is, you have prepared for it. You have a raincoat, you have an umbrella, you have everything you need. So why can't we do the same thing when we're doing our lesson plan? The lesson plan, that's the key. That's the key. I'd like to stay connected with you. We can have a complimentary discovery call. You see calendly.com, BEP /30 minutes. We can talk about this because I am here to help you. I am here as an educational consultant, not only to help those people that are part of my consulting right now, but I want to be able to help others. And it may not be that I will have to come to your campus. It may be just a training, a virtual training, or one-on-one coaching. You know, there's one thing about educators. We don't want people to know we don't know, okay? And the time is far spent for us to be able to try to figure it all out on our own. You can't figure it all out on your own. So why go all around the world when you can have somebody like me to be able to work with you, work with your team, pull your group on through, and then be done with it? And who gets all the glory? You and your team. I'm here to support you. So what I also want you to do is I want you to invite some of your other principals, some of your other aspiring teachers, some of your counselors to join our group, which is Principals on the Come Up. If you're already a member of the group, you can invite other members yourself, and you know they'll automatically be able to come on in. We have to take care of the children who are in the most need of our care. And we cannot do that unless we work as a team. We cannot do that by guessing. We cannot do that by depending on a substitute teacher to do the best they can in the classroom, because we know what the outcome is. We cannot depend on a teacher who is going through her teacher certification program and there's nobody there to assist them. Our principals need assistance. Our teams need guidance, and that's what I'm here for. So go to our page, Principal on the Come Up, and we will be in connection with you so that we can learn more things about what it takes to move a school that has a mission, that has a vision, and that has core values to a school that's no longer in need of improvement, to a school that excels, to a school that people in the community will say, that's the school that I want my child to go to, because all I hear is good things about that school. All I hear is good things about that principal. And the sad thing, principals, is if the community continues to hear bad things about your campus, bad things about your leadership, then the embarrassment is on you, because they're gonna move you. They're gonna move you. They're gonna put you somewhere. You're going to be embarrassed, and you're going to say, "Well, I didn't get enough assistance. I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to do that." And nobody wants excuses. When they put you in that position as the principal, they put you in that position because they saw something in you that they thought would be effective for that campus. And if you cannot get that job done, I guarantee you there are people who are getting certified on a daily basis who are ready and willing to move into your position where they can help students to become the best that they can be, and that school can be a raving success. So we'll see you next Monday at 5 p.m. Principals on the Come Up. Don't forget, schedule a 30-minute, 15-minute discovery call. We can talk about some of the things that you are concerned about. And as I said, it doesn't matter whether you are on a learning management system. Doesn't matter whether you are on a Google Team. It doesn't matter whether you're doing Zooms. It doesn't matter whether you are face-to-face. It doesn't matter whether you are remote. The principles of instruction are the same. We're looking for good learning, we're looking for good instruction, and we're looking for student success. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next Monday for our episode on Principals on the Come Up.